On today's Real Talk, we're talking about the difference between the posted rate and stuff you see in the media versus what you actually end up paying when you buy a house. Alex of Team Trahiotis Mortgages, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Peter.
I want to have you on today because you join our Monday morning meetings, and I'm always a little surprised at what mortgage rates you bring up. So there's always this difference between, I guess what I want to talk about is the difference between the public perception of rates and then what people are actually signing when they go to purchase a home.
Yes.
So what's the story there? What do you think's going on there?
Well, I mean, at this point, I feel that the rates are going to remain. I mean, the announcement's coming up March 6th. So I believe that the rates will remain at the rates they are today. We are offering low rates as low as 4.69. So what you see a posted rate look like is not necessarily what the interest rate will be.
Definitely.
So we do have a lot of discounted rates. It's just, submitting the application and requesting those rates to be somewhat competitively, and they're great. They're fantastic at this point.
Because I think if you ask any person off the street what you're going to pay when you sign the mortgage papers, they would probably think it's like 6%.
Yeah.
I certainly, that is kind of the thought going on in the back of my head, and it's kind of compounded by the fact that they've been holding these rates for months and months.
Yes.
So you just see, I guess it's 5%, 5%, 5%. But what's going on in the background is the rates are going down 5, 4.9,
yes.
4.8, and now, like you just said, 4.69.
Yes, 4.69 for on an insured deal. So anything under $1 million, we can get 4.69. I mean, it's fantastic. I think it's a great rate.
Yeah, and compared to the last 30 years, is that below the average, would you say?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you think the banks don't post that? Like, why do you think the big banks or even just the mortgage-centric financial centers, why are they not posting those really, really low rates?
Because I believe it's deal sensitive. So depending on, depending on what the mortgage amount will be, how long the term is. So if it's a 25-year versus a 30-year, I mean, it just really depends on a case-to-case mortgage situation where they're not posting the lowest rate right off the top.
Exactly. And are they giving you that rate right off the bat, or is that something, is there some negotiation to get down to that number?
There's negotiation. It really depends on the mortgage broker. We do have a preferred rates in our brokerage. So I think, and it depends on the client. It depends on their credit. It depends on the time. And then yes, we fight for the rate. So we try to get the lowest rate for the client. That's why we have 72 lenders and we shop the rate for the client to get the best rate.
Awesome. So if I walked into the bank right now and I said, give me 4.69, what are the odds that they're going to give me 4.69?
You have to come to a mortgage broker. You're not getting it at the bank.
That's what it is, folks. You're not getting that if you walk to the teller and ask them for, well, I guess the teller's not going to set up your mortgage.
Yeah,
but,
no.
And one other thing that you were talking about just before we came on this was stress tests and renewals.
Yes.
I honestly, I've been in the business a little while, I'd never even thought about this, and I've got a renewal coming up. So talk a little bit about, are people getting stress tests when they have their mortgage coming up for renewal?
So no, necessarily when they're doing a renewal, it's not a stress test. So you go into your bank and you say, I'd like to get my mortgage renewed. They give you certain contracted rates, you pick and you just renew. So there's no application involved. But having to, switching your mortgage though, so if I want to be from one institution to another institution, yes, you do need to reapply. And now they're talking about taking away the stress test for you to reapply for those mortgages. That's assuming that you're not adding any extra funds. So meaning $100,000 mortgage and we're switching it to a different institution at $100,000.
So that'll have a big impact. I mean, something like 70% of mortgage are coming for renewal this year. And I would assume, the bigger banks haven't dropped their rates as much as some of the other players in this game. So I would assume a lot of people are going to be, or wanting to jump ship from their current bank. So they don't go from, 1 or 2% up to what some of the big banks are at, over 6, is that fair to say?
Fair to say.
Still?
Yeah.
They want to try and get this juicy 4.69.
Yeah, they've come down, but I would recommend that definitely have a professional shop your rate and definitely see what you got out there. Don't just walk into the 5 banks and be like, oh, I'll take that rate. Definitely go out there and see what we can offer you lower. It just makes a huge impact on your payment.
Awesome. And yeah, if they open this up so that you don't get stress test on renewals, it's going to give people a lot more freedom with what bank they can go to
Yes.
when that renewal comes to people like me.
Yeah, so like I said, the renewal is, if you're just renewing with the institution
Yeah.
you're with, there is no stress test, you're just picking a rate. But if you're looking at switching and getting a lower rate, they're talking about removing the stress test because you still have to reapply.
Still have to reapply.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the great info, Alex.
Thank you for
and
having
for coming
me.
on.